Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening. First tonight, the state government has a public sector problem on its hands, with the list of disgruntled unions growing by the day. Child safety workers halted their work today, while firefighters have been waiting a year for a pay deal.
Striking for the safety of our most vulnerable. Child safety officers calling for more resources and for the planned abolition of the Department of Communities to be shelved.
So ultimately our concerns are around the how it's all going to operate should this proposal come to fruition.
We already have hundreds of children today who have been reported at risk, who do not have the support of a child safety officer because this government will not deal with the recruitment retention problems.
The state government fighting fires on several fronts.
It's extremely frustrating because if we're not at the negotiating table talking through the detail, we're not able to thrash out a deal.
A new firefighters' pay deal is a year overdue and discussions have broken down again. The state government claims it's the union who've walked away.
There will be no walking away from the table by the government.
However, emails show it was the department who chose not to attend today's planned meeting unless work bans were dropped. That action, such as refusing to reset alarms at Parliament House, now set to escalate. Ambulance Tasmania has released a culture improvement action plan responding to staff concerns. It's a frank acknowledgement of the feedback and plots a relations rebuild.
We're really keen to see how the rubber's going to hit the road on those matters.
The state government's public sector problem growing by the day.
The government has to stop taking them for granted. They can't keep paying them as little as they are, treating them so disrespectfully, failing to conclude EBA negotiations.
This is not unique at all. It's pretty normal for unions to at times agitate on behalf of their members. We understand that.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
And turning to some breaking news now, a class action has been launched against the state government on behalf of former occupants at the Ashley Youth Detention Centre. For more now, we're joined by our state political reporter, Josh Duggan. Good evening, Josh. What's being argued?
Louise, 4 lead plaintiffs are suing the state on behalf of more than 100 former detainees at the centre. Their lawyers at Angela Cedrinis Legal argue that their clients had suffered serious injuries as a result of alleged systemic negligence between 1961 and 2019. They argue that the state failed to take reasonable care in the selection of staff, including some with outlaw motorcycle gang links. They also allege there were instances of staff encouraging detainees to attack each other, along with a list of other disturbing allegations. And of course, this has happened in the lead up to the Commission of Inquiry restarting next week. And those hearings will have a particular focus on dealings at the AYDC. Louise?
A heartbroken mother has taken her fight for an inquest into her son's tragic death to the Supreme Court. A judge today reserved his decision around the crash that claimed the life of Jari Wise 2 years ago.
Her head held high in search of answers, Faith Tchelik remains determined.
My son, the man that matters, he's no longer here. Someone needs to be held accountable for that.
Jari Wise died after being struck by his former partner's vehicle. Melissa Oates was sentenced to 8 months for dangerous driving. Calls for an inquest today, the subject of a Supreme Court hearing.
Biggest point is, and always has been, I wouldn't be standing here now if Jari was a woman.
Justice Michael Brett told the court the decision I have to make is if it's in the interest of justice to have an inquest.
Just give it time, put it out there in the universe and hope for the best.
A statement made by a first responder read to the court, noting the lighting was poor, observing Miss Oates crying out, "Why did he jump out in front of me?" The Crown Prosecutor outlined there is no evidence in my respectful submission that the inquest sought should be referred. Defence barrister Fabiano Cangelosi argued that nothing in what was presented in the criminal sentencing of Ms Oates amounts to a finding that Mr Wise jumped in front of the vehicle, saying it is wholly appropriate and wholly proper that coronial proceedings occur, leaving Justice Brett to note the cause of the death is quite obvious, but how that death occurred is a different question. The case will return to the Supreme Court within the next 2 weeks, where further submissions will be heard. Jari's family hopeful the final decision handed down will help bring them justice. Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
A bus driver found guilty of 2 counts of negligent driving causing the death of a father and his 2-year-old daughter in 2020 will avoid jail time after being handed down a wholly suspended sentence of 3 months with the condition she won't commit any crimes in that time. Christine Chatterton stood in the Hobart Magistrates Court as the verdict was read out. The magistrate noting the immeasurable sadness and grief that the victims' family members continue to experience. Susan Neal-Fraser has lost her final chance to overturn her conviction after the High Court refused an application to appeal the case. Convicted of murdering her husband in 2009, Fraser has spent the past 12 years in prison. A local support group says it's disappointed with the ruling but not surprised.
We're all thinking very much of Sue and her family. It's very hard to know what they must be going through at the moment.
The group says a commission of inquiry is needed to see all the evidence laid out in the open and won't stop until she's free. Another Tasmanian has died due to COVID, taking the toll to 162 since the pandemic began. 76 people remain in hospital with the virus, including 20 being treated specifically for COVID, 4 of whom are in ICU. Just over 500 new cases were recorded as our active count drops to 3,500. A northeast wind farm project has been elevated to major status by the state government. The declaration means the $2.7 billion venture will undergo a streamlined assessment process.
Jumpstarting a multi-million-dollar renewable energy venture. The Planning Minister declaring a proposal for wind farms in the northeast a major project.
This is a really exciting potential project for Tasmania, not just for our renewable energy ambitions and supporting our very strong climate agenda, but also delivering jobs for Tasmanians.
The $2.7 billion project proposes 210 turbines over 2 sites, one at Waterhouse and another at Rushy Lagoon. An independent panel will now be established with opportunity for public consultation.
This is new legislation for Tasmania that we introduced about 2 years ago. It's already been used once.
It's the second proposal to be given the status, the Bridgewater Bridge project the first. Dorset's mayor welcoming the decision, saying it will alleviate the workload for the council in assessing the project.
That would have required us to probably employ extra staff just to undertake that the assessment of that particular planning applications, and there'll be multiple applications.
It's estimated the project will create more than 400 jobs during construction and up to 65 jobs when it goes into operation.
It's the largest projects ever come to the northeast by a very, very large margin.
Mark Zita, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasport says an operation to salvage 2 tugboats from the bottom of the Mersey River is now complete. Final preparations will be done over the next couple of days to secure the tugboats on the retrieval ship before departing to Brisbane. A marine safety inspection and assessment will be conducted shortly after. Tasmanian young people are on the front line of the state's largest sector, volunteering, which is worth more than $4 billion. A new statewide program launching today to recognise their contributions.
Bearing the myth Tasmania's young people aren't volunteering.
It's one of the most empowering things to do something for nothing. If we care about a topic, we're going to go out and support what we believe in.
In Tasmania, 53% of young people between 15 and 17 volunteer, and that's the highest portion of any age group.
The new Youth Volunteer Army program launching today in recognition of their efforts, featuring an app for students to clock their hours.
It allows us us to help them produce a CV which supports them when they're going for scholarships, when they're going for employment opportunities.
30 schools jumping on board.
The Youth Volunteer Army aligns closely with the Department of Education values of growth, courage, resilience and respect.
Worth $300,000, the pilot program will run for 3 years.
It actually is a program that was developed in New Zealand out of the Christchurch earthquakes, and there was a mobilisation of young people and students out of New Zealand.
National counterparts now looking to our state for inspiration. Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
Self-check-in equipment and state-of-the-art security technology will feature in a redevelopment Launceston Airport terminal. Ground was broken today on the upgrades, which are expected to be completed by the end of next year.
This is an accelerated program now post-COVID for us. So this is the first phase of expansion for the airport. The next phase will be a further retail expansion, which we expect to commence next year.
Traffic at the airport is expected to double by 2040, reaching 2.5 million travellers per year. For many women undergoing cancer treatment, hair loss can be a distressing side effect. But a generous donation from a Launceston survivor is helping ensure wigs are readily available for Tasmanians who need them.
Ensuring Tasmanian women have access to a wig during a trying time in their lives.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
The Cancer Council of Tasmania taking delivery of 500 wigs and accessories for its library.
Now we have the ability to provide a wig for every woman in Tasmania who's undergoing cancer treatment.
The wigs were donated by Launceston woman Hayley Luttrell, who raised more than $65,000 to purchase them. It means libraries in Launceston, Hobart and Devonport will now be fully stocked.
The Wig Library is here as a support to help women who are losing their hair through cancer treatment like chemotherapy.
Hayley was diagnosed with breast cancer last year and found it difficult to find a wig that matched her natural hair. The experience encouraging her to hold the Wigging It Gala Ball in June to raise money to replenish the library supply.
I came to the Wig Library to find a wig, and unfortunately wig stock was low at the time.
I fully expect there to be those numbers to rise now that we've got all these beautiful wigs that Hayley's been able to donate to us.
Women can access the library free of charge by contacting the Cancer Council. Mark Zita, 7 Tasmania News.
Pinball wizards are about to cast a spell on Tasmania when more than 50 new and classic machines spark up for a special exhibition. The first Tas-Pin is flipping Launceston's Italian club into a labyrinth of lights and sounds for arcade fans.
Go time for the Kingpins.
We're building the biggest pinball arcade that Tasmania has ever seen.
A flipping fantasy land for pinball fun and a dream come true for collector Justin Kingston.
The lights, the sound, the skill.
He's pulled together more than 50 pinball classics for the first Tas-Pin feature, including this Twister-themed machine complete with a fan for added effect, plus brand new models from Australia's sole manufacturer in Melbourne. The array attracting pinball punters from around the country. What do you love about pinball?
Everything. The colours, the lights, the art.
If you didn't play pinball when you were a kid, you didn't fit in, I guess.
We've got everything from 1960s right through to brand new machines from manufacturers.
And that means there's a game for every generation. For a 90s kid, you can't go past the Simpsons Pinball Party. So whether you're having a big shot at something straight out of the 60s or a Game of Thrones pinball style, there's something for everyone at the Italian Club this weekend, and all money raised is going to the 4K Children's Ward.
I haven't stopped grinning.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News. Glenorchy is thrilled to have coach Aaron Cornelius back on board for next year. It's a bright light in a horror 2022 for the Magpies, the team staring down a winless season with 2 games to go.
Gives us a bit of stability. Obviously, I've mentioned before, I think he's probably one of the best coaches in the state.
The Pies play Clarence tomorrow, while North Launceston will be missing Brandon Leary, who's been plucked by North Melbourne for a game in the VFL. Hobart swimmer Matilda Smith will race against the United States after being called up to the Aussie Dolphin squad for the upcoming duel in the pool between the two nations. It'll take place in Sydney in a week's time. Locally, South Hobart has a significant confidence boost as it prepares to take on Taroona after smashing ladder leader Launceston United 6-0 in round 16 of the Women's Super League.
Our main focus is just goal difference with this game and just making sure we get as many goals as we can, basically.
And there's tension between teams in the NPL this weekend as the Glenorchy Knights battle it out against South Hobart.
Obviously, we'd like to be battling for top spot, but second place is definitely our aim at the moment.
I'm not happy because we're so far off first. Yeah, I mean, second is definitely the goal. That's the target. I mean, we haven't finished outside the top two for a handful of seasons now.
The game kicks off at 2 p.m. tomorrow. And with Serena Williams announcing her retirement this week, tonight's Friday Flashback is to when the tennis champion played at the Hobart International in 2007. She'd already won multiple Grand Slams by this point, but Hobart's title was still out of reach. Serena Williams had won 7 of her 23 Grand Slams when Hobart came knocking.
It is undoubtedly the biggest name we've had in the tournament.
Still, she tried to keep a low profile, making a beeline for her hotel alongside mum Oracene. But there was no escaping the public's glare on day one. She helped sell out the opening session for the first time in the tournament's history. What fans saw was a Serena smashing, a 6-4, 6-love win. But the former world number one still wasn't satisfied.
I know my mom's going to tell me some things that I don't want to hear, but I know I need to hear it.
She was pushed in the second round by future world number 5 Lucy Safarova before her tournament fell apart in the third round. Little-known Austrian Sibylla Bammer sensationally knocked out the American champion in 3 sets, Williams tossing her racket in disgust.
I feel like I should have won the match if I'd have played better, but I think if you don't play well, then you tend to lose, especially against a player that's, going to play her best match against you and practically just blast out in the next match.
Bammer bombed out in the next round, while Serena went on to win her 3rd Australian Open the next month in one of the most one-sided finals in history.
And now we can say Serena is back.
Steamrolling a shell-shocked Maria Sharapova 6-1, 6-2.
She came out today and she really played flawless tennis.
That's what hard work pays off, so yay.
A dominance she'd rarely relinquish in the years to come.
Good evening. Hope you had a great Friday so far. Around the state today, Hobart registered 15 degrees, Launceston 16, Burnie just 12 and Devonport 14. 17 was the high at Friendly Beaches. Temperatures just above average all over, apart from the northwest. A bit cooler there. Flinders Island and St Helens 16, King Island, Strawn and Bushy Park 15, Grove 14, Lowhead 13, Lyawini a top of 8. Showers fell over the north and northwest overnight and into today from that cover of convective low cloud over that area. Middle level cloud moved across the eastern part of the continent. Low-level cloud sits over the Bight, spiralling into a low-pressure system. Cloud with the next cold front further west. Tomorrow, the low weakens as it tracks over western Victoria as the other deepens to the east. A ridge of high pressure emanates from central Australia. Southeasterly winds at 10 to 20 knots tomorrow, lighter over the lakes with swells at around 2 metres in the west and south. Hobart, showers developing, 14 the top, 13 for Medina, a shower or two as well, a shower or two developing over Oatlands, 2 overnight, a top of 12. Launceston, a possible shower, 16 the maximum, same for Devonport, partly cloudy there, a morning frost for Lyawini, -1 to 8 the temperature range. 14 for Burnie and partly cloudy, Strawn 15, a high of 15 for Marrawar. And for St Helens, showers developing, 14 the top, 14 for Swansea, showers on the way too for Orford and 14 degrees. On Sunday, rain with possible heavy falls over the east and south, a few showers developing elsewhere during the morning. Showers on Monday more frequent over the south and southeast with winds tending southwesterly and cooling things down again. And on Tuesday, still the possibility of a few showers but not much over the north coast. Showers in Perth, Adelaide and Melbourne tomorrow, 19 in Sydney with a shower or two. Rain forecast for Brisbane, 21 the high, a sunny 34 in Darwin. Cloudy in Hobart, 10 at the moment, 8 degrees and partly cloudy in Launceston, bit of cloud over Devonport and currently 10 degrees. Louise, I have some late breaking news coming to hand. Kim Miller has been in contact with us. She's having so much fun. She wants to take another week off. My question to you is, are you happy to be the warm-up act for the weather next week?
I certainly am, Murph. I love it. Thank you for that.